Hi, I'm Nicus, and I'm your special guest host for this Nintendo Direct. Recently, the Nintendo Switch has outsold the PlayStation 4 and the original Game Boy, and could quite possibly be the highest selling console of all time. So, how is Nintendo hoping to make sure that happens? We have some more garbage shovelware to announce today. Well, it's February 14th. You know what that means? It's time for me to talk about the most recent Nintendo Direct. Why else would I be dressed up like this? Last Wednesday, we had our regularly scheduled February Nintendo Direct, so today I'm gonna act like I haven't seen it yet, just so I can be different for once. As for my predictions this time around, I predict disappointment in the form of a new Mario Sluggers game, one that will launch around June, have minimal content, and have 2 characters and stadiums added later this year, which is announced in the September 2023 Nintendo Direct, but the game itself will die 3 hours after launch. In other words, disappointment.
The last Direct was disappointing to say the least, because I should have seen that coming. Some undeniably great announcements, but nothing to know was coming remotely soon. But last year's February Direct was stellar. Man, I wonder how this one will turn out. Well, we begin with a much more in-depth look at Pikmin 4. This looks fantastic. I've never played Pikmin before, never had too much interest prior to this, but this trailer caught my intrigue. Visually, this looks stellar, and is proof that if developers try, the Switch can truly pump out some amazing looking games. As Miyamoto said last time, the game's camera angle will be lower than it usually is, and I really like that. It really helps show how big these regular objects are compared to the Pikmin, helping give a sense of scale. This trailer was comprised of mainly gameplay, and yeah, it looks quite fun, showing a variety of environments and types of Pikmin. But there is one major flaw with the trailer, and that is its length. Unfortunately, this trailer just dragged on. It seemed to more focus on showing as many gameplay mechanics as it can instead of just simply showing a quick teaser showing off small bits of gameplay that still look appealing. And then there's a title card towards the end of the trailer that seems like a fine place to end it, but then it just keeps going. But to round out the trailer, we get a current release date of July 21st. Besides the length and pacing though, this was a solid trailer that intrigued me as someone who has no experience with the Pikmin franchise as a whole. Takahashi then introduces himself as he always does, and he talks more about the trailer.
Takahashi, I love you, but let's move on to some headlines. I'm all Pikmin'd out right now.
Some Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC.
So what were you saying about Pikmin?
Volume 3 of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pack is detailed. Good news, there's only one more volume. I have no problem with the announcement that the next volume is coming out, but why go in depth on what's in the volume when it strictly appeals to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 fans, aka 2 people watching? Also, they tease Volume 4, thank god we're almost done with Xenoblade 3. A new Samba de Amigo is coming to Switch. It'll be a motion control rhythm game, and I love that the announcer has to say to gently shake the Joy-Cons.
Grab your Joy-Con controllers and gently shake them like maracas to match the targets during a song.
Next up, a fashion shovelware game. Why does Nintendo include games like this in their directs? Are they aware that the only people tuning into these are actual Nintendo fans who want to know what Nintendo games are coming when? Who watching this direct lost their shit at this part like, wow, graphics? This is clearly a game directed towards little girls, which there's nothing wrong with, but why highlight this game in a Nintendo Direct? My only theory is that Miyamoto killed a man in 2002 and the developer knows, so he blackmailed Nintendo into showing off this game.
Joke's on him, still nobody's gonna buy it.
Dead Cells gets some Castlevania DLC. This is awesome. I love Castlevania and this game's art style looks sick. I'm definitely intrigued, and this is just DLC. I need to get Dead Cells in the first place. Tron Identity, a visual novel based on the world of Tron. And Ghost Trick Defender Detective, a remaster of a DS game. Now this isn't something you see that often. DS games are in an awkward boat. They're developed for such specific pieces of hardware. Dual screens, one of them being a touchscreen, a microphone. It's no easy feat remastering a DS game for modern systems, which is why that's something we pretty much never see. So it's cool that this is happening, but that doesn't change the fact that this is an incredibly goofy trailer. Next up, a trailer for Deca Police. This was genuinely one of the most boring trailers I've ever seen. As if the anime art style wasn't a turnoff already, the game just does not look fun in the slightest. And Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, a Bayonetta prequel that plays nothing like Bayonetta. I'm not a Bayonetta fan, so take my opinion with a grain of salt, but why is the prequel a completely different type of game? Obviously it's much more low budget, but like, it's Bayonetta. How does a prequel get this low of a budget? But with me not being a Bayonetta fan, it means I won't be buying this, so why even care? Well, then we move on to a bigger announcement, Splatoon 3 DLC. Well, they're bringing back the lobbies from the first two Splatoon games, that's fun. Wave 1, Inkopolis, looks the way it did in Splatoon 1, but then something f***y is going on with Splatoon 2's lobby. The teaser is incredibly vague, which is awesome. We'll have to wait to find out what's going on here. I'm sure this will ruin some Splatoon fans, but as someone who's never played Splatoon,
What, am I supposed to care?
Disney Illusion Island, f*** off. I hate Mickey and his pals with a passion. They scream soulless and corporate to another level, and I just can't stand them. I don't even know how the game looks because I was too busy doing my daily Mickey Mouse hating. Fire Emblem Engage DLC. They're bringing back characters from past Fire Emblem games.
And I'm bringing back Al Capone's Pepto-Bismol. How else would I sit through Fire Emblem Engage?
Harmony, the Fall of Reverie. It may be time to accept that this direct is bad. We're 20 minutes in and there's only been 2 good major announcements, one of them just being DLC. Maybe this direct can redeem itself. Octopath Traveler 2. A demo is dropping after the direct and so am I. We Love Katamari Reroll. Wow, an actual video game? And Switch Online members get a free trial? Thank God I'm paying $50 a year for this. Sea of Stars? I don't know. It's another 2.5D RPG and I don't know what to say. It's visually gorgeous, but that's where the appeal ends for me. Omega Strikers, a free-to-play game. Okay, fine, but why can you pre-order a free-to-play game?
Pre-orders for this free-to-play game begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Well, that's enough attention for Omega Strikers. Let's move on. An HD remaster of the first 3 Etrian Odyssey games is coming. Man, Omega Strikers doesn't look half bad. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp is finally talked about again. This game was set to release in spring of 2022, but was delayed indefinitely due to the situation over in Europe, which was a fair call on Nintendo's part. Now, why the game still isn't out a whole year later, that needs some explaining. I can only imagine Nintendo just completely forgot about the game, then last month we're like,
Oh shit, we still need to release Advance Wars.
Toss it in the next Nintendo Direct.
well, here's to hoping it does well. I don't have any interest in the game, but I still hope it's successful since it's a Game Boy Advance remaster. Advance Wars being a success could open Nintendo's eyes a bit to remaster some other Game Boy Advance games, but due to the delay, I'll bet this game will flop big time, which is a shame. It doesn't look that bad. We then jump into another look at Return to Dreamland Deluxe, announcing a new mini-campaign. That's kinda cool for a remaster, definitely adds some more value to the package, and an announcement that a demo for the game will be released after the Direct. Nice. We're half an hour in and we have 3 decent announcements, none of which crazy exciting. This truly is a bad direct.
Next, here's some news about Nintendo Switch Online.
Why? You still have yet to finish adding all the Nintendo 64 games you announced in the September Direct. What?
Game Boy games are being added to Nintendo Switch Online, including Game Boy Color games. Super Mario Land 2, Tetris, Metroid 2, Wario Land 3, Kirby's Adventure, and Link's Awakening DX, my favorite game of all time, are coming at launch, which is so exciting. Along with that, some more obscure games, Gargoyle's Quest, and Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare. You can set different filters to simulate playing the games on the original Game Boy Pocket, or Game Boy Color, which is such a neat touch. And there's local and online multiplayer, which is again, very neat. A quick look into some more games, the Oracle games, the Pokemon card game, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble.
Really, of all games, Super Mario Land 1, Donkey Kong, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow. No, Kirby Tilt and Tumble always comes first.
Well, regardless, an exciting announcement.
What?
Game Boy Advance also? Oh! The Game Boy Advance is my favorite handheld, period. So many stellar games on here. The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, Super Mario Advance 4, WarioWare, Mario Kart, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and Kura, and I don't even know what that is and I'm losing it. And that all goes without saying, the games look absolutely stellar on Switch. Game Boy Advance games were so colorful and the emulation here is fantastic. And some of the games coming in the future, Metroid Fusion, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Fire Emblem, F-Zero, and Golden Sun are all coming in the future, which is like, what?
And after today's Nintendo Direct, you'll be able to play the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance titles we introduced.
What? Yes, these were playable once the Direct was over, and you bet your ass I've been all over them. I'm so damn happy to have all these games on here, along with knowing all the others are confirmed to be coming. And with Game Boy Advance now a part of Switch Online, I can taste Mother 3 on Switch. Game Boy games can be played with a base Switch Online subscription, and Game Boy Advance requires the expansion pack, and my god, that just added so much value. I already thought the expansion pack was worth it with all the quality N64 games you can get, but now combine that with all the Game Boy Advance games, and it's just like, jeez. Well, after that amazing announcement, let's cool down with some boring headlines.
The original Metroid Prime game is remastered on Nintendo Switch.
So, right after announcing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games coming to Switch Online, Nintendo just casually announced a Metroid Prime remaster releasing right after the Direct.
Yeah, we're bringing Metroid Prime to Switch. Yeah, it's gonna be an HD remaster. Yeah, it's launching later today.
Metroid Prime is Nintendo's most iconic first-person shooter, and the fact that they're bringing it to Switch is so exciting. Visually, it looks fantastic, but there still is one major issue in my opinion: the price. This is an amazing game that is not worth $40. Nintendo knows what they have. Metroid Prime is beloved, and because of that, they know they can get away with selling it for $40 when it's really worth $20, $25 max. You can get Metroid Prime Trilogy on Wii U for $20 and get all 3 Prime games, but bad news, the eShop is closing down next month. Looks like you gotta pay double for just one game. It's pretty trashy and does turn me off from picking up the game for a while. That doesn't downplay the excitement, but it just kinda leaves a bad taste in my mouth in more than one way. With Game Boy and Game Boy Advance now being on Switch Online, the next logical step is GameCube games on Switch Online. But I feel that Metroid Prime Remastered could be a hint that Nintendo won't be doing that. The 2 first-party GameCube games on Switch, Metroid Prime and Super Mario Sunshine, are HD remastered and widescreen, and I can totally see that's how Nintendo may handle GameCube games on Switch. The GameCube used discs, which could hold a couple gigabytes. A Nintendo 64 cartridge could hold roughly 64 megabytes, so I can't really see Nintendo making an app with multiple multi-gigabyte games. But I can see Nintendo remastering GameCube games and tossing them on eShop, which I'm fine with as long as they handle it better than they've done with Prime. Make the games HD and widescreen, slap it on the eShop for $10, $20 max. I'd be down for that, but Nintendo pricing Metroid Prime Remastered at $40 is quite simply concerning. As for headlines, another anime type game, f*** off. Another anime type game, f*** off. Fantasy Life, okay. And jump into another major announcement, the return of Professor Layton. Just a really short teaser confirming the return. Nothing crazy, but still exciting news. Mario Kart 8 DLC Wave 4 information with the announcement of a brand new track. When the DLC was announced, they said that it would just be remastered tracks. But here's a Yoshi's Island track, which is so cool. Also, Birdo is being added, which is also cool. A sizzle reel before the final announcement as always, and the Direct ends with a more in-depth look at Tears of the Kingdom, and oh my gosh, so much cool stuff. Some new enemies, some more advanced enemy types, Ganon's voice, new weapons, new runes, something's up with Link's arm, seemingly craftable vehicles, absolutely crazy. Tears of the Kingdom looks so good. A collector's edition is announced along with a new Link amiibo, and that's it for this Direct.
Wow, that was amazing. There were so many exciting announcements. Pretty much all of them were at the end. The one problem with this Direct was undoubtedly the placements of some of the announcements. And I think this could have simply been fixed by moving up Metroid Prime, then everything else would have been much more balanced. But when you think of everything that was announced or further detailed in this Direct, there was a lot of really good stuff. It was filled to the brim with shovelware. But that really doesn't matter. What matters is that we got a more in-depth look at Pikmin 4. What matters is that we got Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games on Switch Online. What mattered is that we got Metroid Prime on Switch in a remastered version. What mattered is that we're getting a new course in Mario Kart 8. What matters is that we got a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. Because ultimately, we remember Nintendo Directs for their big announcements. There are some Directs that are memorably bad, but this isn't one of them. While it still had a bunch of not great games, the good announcements will still overshadow it, and that's ultimately what makes this a good Direct. And my god, the fact that Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Metroid Prime Remastered were playable as soon as the Direct ended, that was awesome! I love the idea of Nintendo having these apps ready to go by the time the Direct starts, so then after the Direct you can just jump into them, because that keeps the hype train going and just is so much more fun. Overall, this was an amazing Direct. But it could have used a few more farming games. What is this, a February 2023 Nintendo Direct?